I think he did a great job of bringing this to the forefront of like this pressure that we are put under, whether it's ourselves or by society, that we have to look a certain way or to get a man, because none of that other shit is important.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain.
Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friend and my shipmate. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And welcome back.
Hey everybody.
So glad y'all are sticking with us. This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's almost Halloween. Like right around the corner. We've been decorating the yard. Are you a big Halloween decorator person?
Yeah, I am. No, not lately, not in the last few years, but when we used to live in Florida, many houses ago, I decided to just go all out for Halloween, decorate the front yard, put a smoke machine out, graveyard, make it as scary as possible. When the kids came around, we put speakers in the upstairs bedroom window that points out to the door, and we had like creepy music. And then my brother-in-law, we dressed him in army fatigues and a scary clown costume with a fake knife.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we were hardcore. And then I always had some scary, grotesque costume on. One day I was the Grudge, the girl from the Grudge. I've been all kinds of weird shit. And our purpose was to just scare the shit out of the kids. And halfway through decorating, I'm like, is this too much? But it was like, nah, let's do it. The kids turned out to love it. The parents loved it too. They would come to the door, and as they approached the door, we had my brother-in-law hid behind a column.
Jesus.
And you would, if I had a camera then, because this was years ago and people didn't always have phone cameras. If I had a camera for some of their faces, we laughed so hard. My husband didn't dress up, so he would do when the little tiny kids would come to the door, we would put him in place to give out candy, because we really didn't want to traumatize the little ones. But the older ones loved it.
I hated scary Halloween is not my thing at all.
It is mine. It's mine. And I don't know, like every year, we would have to do it again, because they would be like, are you doing it this year? And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
So we did that for several years.
We lived in Florida, and we would go to like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. That's my speed of Halloween, right?
So I
did not go to Halloween Horror Nights. I fucking would not go.
Really?
So I think we put my feet up on the chair and tell you the therapist story of how my parents ruined me.
Oh.
I think this is a trauma from my childhood. I remember, I don't know where we were. It was like one of those, carnivals that comes into town or whatever. And there was a fun house. Mm-hmm. And I remember my dad like really pressuring me to go through this thing. Like, because I said I wanted to go, and then he paid the money for it. And then
you changed
I got
your
scared
mind.
and was like, never mind. And he was like
You're gonna go.
pushing for it.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it. Scared the fuck out of me. And
it's
like we didn't even get through the door. I turned around and left. Yeah, and that
and
I think
still with you.
I think that did. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I love scary stuff. Didn't really get to do a lot of that when I was a kid, so maybe that's why I like it now. But I do find it hard these days to watch a movie by myself, a scary show like American Horror Stories or something. Right. I have a problem with sitting and doing it by myself. But I still like it.
No, some people, I don't know, was it serotonin or dopamine or something? Some people really get a hit of something good.
Yeah, dopamine
when they get scared. Not me. My brain doesn't do that, I guess.
Oh, well, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, different speeds for everybody. But Halloween is for everybody.
So we're doing in our yard. We hung up some, little ghosty things, and
it's cute. It's really cute.
Becca took one of those orange plastic pumpkin pails that you take trick or treating, and cut the back out, and like you put that around your porch lights.
I'm totally stealing that idea.
And it's a glowing pumpkin. So we need a couple more of those pumpkins to finish up the garage lights, and then the lights up under the porch are all purple. I made this cute little thing with the they look like little bags.
Mm-hmm.
Those are tea light holders, and they look like little pumpkins. And I bought some orange lights and ran through there, and we've got that up on the porch. We also made some really cool tombstones, just out of like some leftover plywood or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Becca came up with the idea to make them all gamer themed. So we've got one that's like Pac-Man Game Over with a high score, and my son wanted to do a Minecraft themed one. So it's got like a pickaxe on the top,
nice.
Where the icon thing goes, and then it has his gamer tag, fell from a high place. It's going to have like the respawn buttons and everything.
That's
just something fun, and
it's very creative though too.
Yeah, I'm sure she found them on Google.
Well, you never know.
But speaking of Disney Halloween, Hocus Pocus 2
Woohoo!
caused some controversy. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Mm-mm. No, but this lady in Texas telling everybody not to watch this movie. Central Texas mother warning parents that the sequel to the cult Disney favorite released this past week. Worst case scenario, she says, you unleash hell on your kids and in your home. This whole movie is based on witches harvesting children for blood sacrifices. Okay, listen.
There's no evidence of that ever happening. Well,
no.
I mean, yeah.
And like how connected is this to satanic panic type stuff? Like demons and hellspawn and witches and all of this stuff. Like,
no proof.
We're just having fun, okay? Like, calm the hell down.
Yeah, I feel like that every time a movie comes out, I mean, there wouldn't be any movies. Like, have you seen like Amityville or some of the the religious based movies like Exorcism and stuff?
Right.
Come on, lady.
Right. Yeah. Of course, this is like, to her, this is a whole big culture war thing. She said, I think it goes further than just a movie. It goes further than Halloween. It's a year-round thing. We need to be cautious of what we're consuming, what we're bringing in.
Well, I mean, I do agree with her there. What we need to be, we always should be cautious of what we're.
Right.
But this is fiction. It's fun. It's three women being comedic, and it's, it's not really.
And there are some religious people that believe in, like, if you buy a lamp at a secondhand store, you could be inviting demons into your home that are stuck in the lamp. And like, there's some real wild out there stuff.
I'd buy that lamp. I want to see what happens.
Or that the Smurfs are somehow evil and are bringing Satan into your home. All kinds of crazy shit. But anyway, Hocus Pocus 2 has a fun Star Trek tie-in. Do you know what it is?
Hocus Pocus, a Star Trek tie-in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, with the trivia. I don't know.
No points for this one. So Billy Butcherson is played by Doug Jones.
Oh.
Who's the actor that plays Saru on Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, awesome. I love Doug Jones.
He is a great character actor. Like, he does all kinds of aliens and...
His body is so slim and tall, so he can pull off a lot of things.
Lanky arms and legs. And yeah, he's so good. So there you go.
Awesome.
Well, hey, let's get to the episode that we came here to discuss today. It's Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 7, Mud's Women.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us.
No visual contact yet.
Deflect towards full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
What did you think of this episode?
Oh, man. Where do I start? We've got slavery, misogyny. We've got a little bit of everything going on here.
Yeah. Pimping.
So we start out, the Enterprise is in pursuit of some unknown cargo vessel. and this cargo ship is like pushing its engines too hard, trying to outrun them. Uhura's tried hailing them, no answer, and they're approaching an asteroid belt. Here's the only research I did. Spock says it's Schiller rating 3.5 about this asteroid belt. And I was like, well, what the hell is that? Like, is that a real rating? Is it a Star Trek-y thing? So I looked it up, and this is the only time it has been mentioned in the Star Trek universe.
Is it real? Real thing?
I didn't find anything real.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting tidbit on this one. I don't know if you noticed the star date at the beginning.
I did not.
So I've been paying attention, and I know that you had mentioned in several episodes that we did that, you know, they may not have released it in a certain order.
Right.
Or they may not have released it in the order that they were produced.
Right.
So the star date on this one was 1329.8, which is before like the last episode. So I was like, so I found out that I found the actual production release order. So how, and obviously it's not 1, 2, 3.
Nope.
It's kind of all over the place. But this particular episode, it was one of 3 of the episodes that were submitted to be the second pilot. For Star Trek.
I didn't know that.
The other episodes were Omega Glory and Where No Man Has Gone Before. So the order of this one,
that's interesting. I didn't know.
Was actually the production code for this one was number 4.
Okay. So earlier, much earlier.
Yeah, much earlier.
One of these days, I think I want to watch them in production order just to see, like, if that changes my percent. I'm never going to do this. This is way too much of a commitment.
This is too much work. You know,
but just to see if that changes, like, my perception of the character's development week after week. I think that would be interesting.
So I can tell you, okay, so for the first 10, the production order is 6.
Okay.
8, episode 8. Episode 2B is, which is in the Where No Man Has Gone Before, because that was also going to be one of the pilots.
Right.
Then episode 7, which is The Naked Time. Then 5, The Enemy Within. Then 4, Mud's Women. And then episode 10, which was produced as the 10th episode, is going to be next, which is What Are Little Girls Made Of? But yeah, it's not in chronological order.
Yeah, I just wonder how that affects their characters, if it's noticeable. Because there's
I did make some notes.
There's some Spock moments that are like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, in this one, his reaction, because this was an earlier episode,
right?
So
he had less of that stoic Vulcan.
Yeah, he had some smirks going on.
So this cargo vessel's engines are overloading and shut down, and then the Enterprise is too far away. They say, you know, we can extend our deflectors around them and protect them from asteroids, but now they're saying nope, they're too far away, and even if we did that, it would overload our engines.
Right.
So now this cargo vessel is just drifting through the asteroid belt without any way to maneuver to avoid collision. And Kirk sends Scotty and Spock down to the transporter room. But the Enterprise engines are overheating now, too. And we get the flashing red warning light to theme.
Yep.
They love to do that zoom in on a thing to fade to theme. It's usually a person. It's usually Kirk eyes to theme. But this was flashing red warning light.
Yep. You could hear like things popping and then the lights would dim. And then Sulu would say, oh, you know, we've blown a dilithium crystal circuit or something. Oh, I'm sorry, lithium.
Yes.
There's something about lithium.
Later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this whole episode they're talking about lithium crystal circuits, but later they actually changed to dilithium because that's really what they actually use, because warp engines are powered by dilithium instead of lithium. This
whole thing with the engine overheating and the crystals burning out was a little strange to me as a TNG kid, I think, because like later it seems like those kinds of systems like deflector control and shields and that sort of thing are not like directly affecting the engine.
Right. It just
seems
pulling
like
power.
a separate system.
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, like, well, what else does the Enterprise have than an engine and some batteries, probably?
Yeah.
So in later Trek, where they don't seem to be as affected,
yeah,
that seems
like you said,
a little off to me.
Yeah. They're all separate. I guess they get power from the warp or whatever, the warp core.
Right.
And
I mean, maybe the impulse engines generate a different set of power for other things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting approach.
I don't know.
So Sulu says now they've lost one of their lithium crystal circuits. Lithium is used to treat the mania part of bipolar disorder.
Oh, that's right.
I had to look that up. I didn't actually know that.
That is right. That's true. Do they still use that? Because I know it was a big thing a long time ago.
Right. So what did the writers think, like, when you sit down to write this story and you're, okay, so what powers our engine?
Lithium?
Some type of crystal,
Is
right? Who says lithium and why? I want that conversation. And what were the other options? Like,
I mean,
red shirts, we stick some red shirts in and power the engine with those?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Is it lithium actually a crystal? I don't know.
It is, like, it does have a crystalline structure. I did do some more research.
Do you find it in a mine?
That I don't know. I don't know where you get you some lithium.
Yep.
So Scotty is trying to call the cargo ship to get a transporter lock. And again, this is something like, I didn't remember this from the original series either, but in later Trek, they scan for life forms.
You tiny
Precious little life forms.
I just love scanning for life forms.
But here it seems like they have to establish communication in order to get a transporter lock, okay, right? So later it's like, I'm scanning for these. There are 3 life forms. I'll beam them aboard.
Right. Lock onto the life forms.
Here we have to have communication, apparently. Another circuit goes out, and now Uhura is finally getting a distress call from the cargo ship. Scotty's got a lock now, and he beams in Walsh? Captain Leo Walsh.
Captain Leo Walsh. So he beams this man, this strange-looking man, up on board. This guy is speaking in a really thick Irish accent.
What is it with this show and Irish?
I don't know. I don't know. But
themes?
the Irish accent seems to later disappear, and it just morphs into just a regular old English accent.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing some kind of cowboy hat.
This is the best costume.
And one earring that literally looks like a Christmas ornament on one ear. And he's wearing like a fluffy, like a shirt with the puffy sleeves. And he's just, kind of like a jovial guy, and ends up on the transporter pad, and he introduces himself as Captain Leo Walsh. And so Spock asks, like, how many more are in your crew? And he says, just a few more, because being very vague and mysterious. But then as his vessel is breaking up, it's about to explode, he doesn't seem that concerned.
Okay. I didn't get this from anyone in the episode, right? So Scotty makes the case of like, listen, we got to beam those other 3 over. Like, we got to go quick here because the ship is breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
None of these characters sold to me a sense of urgency at all.
No, that they didn't. Oh, no, there's somebody that might die.
Right.
And when they beamed, what's his name? Leo Walsh Captain Leo Walsh on the ship, he wasn't even concerned. He was like, this is a nice ship, and never mind, he's got 3 other people over there that might blow up.
So another circuit fails, and they switch over to battery now. And when they try to beam the other 3 aboard, the transporter goes all wonky.
Mm-hmm.
The cargo ship gets nailed by an asteroid and explodes. But Scotty and Spock have a lock on something, and in beams 3 bodacious babes.
Bow, bow, bow. Oh my goodness! I mean, they are gorgeous. It's funny how they appeared they're all appeared in these different poses as if they're in a girl group.
Yeah,
and one is like facing backwards, and they're all wearing these glittery, sparkly dresses. They are absolute bombshells.
That's a great point about the transporter, though, because every time we use the transporter, we go stand in a cluster, mimicking the spots on the pad, facing the same direction. We get beamed in, we get beamed out. Could the transporter, in transport, could the transport operator turn you around?
I don't know. Probably not.
Or would the pattern somehow have that 3-dimensional alignment in its data?
That's weird. That's too deep.
These are the journeys we go on.
But yeah, because that's true, because I've never seen anyone before. Like appear backwards. But she was posing. I mean, she was posed that way, and I don't know, for drama.
So Scotty and McCoy look like they're about to explode in their pants.
I know. I mean, what the hell?
And Kirk's calling down on the radio, and the boys are just too busy drooling over these women to answer. They're
literally drooling. Yeah.
Kirk wants to see this captain immediately, and Walsh says, he overhears this on the radio and says, "Hey, that guy sounds a little upset, doesn't he?" And McCoy, with this dopey, like, hearts floating in his eyes grin, he says, yes, they are.
And this is where I see Spock break character a little bit, because he's got this smirk on his face, because he's Vulcan, so these women aren't affecting him. But he's got this smirk on his face. So they get into the elevator because Kirk wants to see them right away.
Did you notice the music in this scene?
Yes.
It was like a 40s
Horns.
gangster kind of dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Every time they show the women, especially.
Yeah.
So they get into the elevator, and Leo Walsh notices. He's like, "Hey, you're one of them." He calls him a Vulcanian.
Yeah.
It's really just Vulcan.
I wonder how long that sticks around.
Well, this is the fourth episode. This is one of the early ones, so I think they changed it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's why the women don't affect him.
Right.
And he's like, unless you want it to.
Did you notice the real tight close up on the women's asses in the hallway?
Yes, as they're walking.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Everybody's staring at them. Like, literally, whatever they've got, they're putting men in trances.
They come out of the turbo lift. One of the women tries to apologize for Walsh. She says, like, well, he's just so used to buying and selling people. And that was my first red flag of the episode. Like, oh, yeah, this is...
Yeah. Everything is not what it seems.
Yeah.
And that lady, that was Eve. So she was blonde, and she was absolutely gorgeous, and she seems like a caring person. But while she cuts her off, and he's like, get out of the lift. Get going. So then I guess they go either to Kirk's quarters or...
Yeah, they're in Kirk's quarters. And I thought that was strange because, like,
why would they?
Does the captain meet people in his quarters like that?
I thought that was strange.
The conference room would have been more appropriate.
Yeah. And Spock announces, Captain Kirk, Captain Leo Walsh here to see you. And he has this smirk on his face. It's so smug. This is when it was kind of a little out of character for him to even crack a smile, because he's amused by all the men that are literally acting like slobbering fools.
So he introduces the commander of this cargo vessel, knowing that Kirk's going to want to bang all these women.
Right.
Probably all at the same time.
And that's hence the smirk. And he was like enjoying this because he's so unaffected.
And sure enough, Kirk turns around and is mesmerized.
He's like, "Rrr!" But he's not as bad as the other guys. He manages some
kind of control.
Yeah, he's taken by their beauty, but he manages some level of decorum.
So he asks Walsh, "Is this your crew?" And Walsh is like, "Ha, crew. No, this is cargo. This is me cargo."
Yep.
Oof. And off to commercial we go with visions of gangbangs dancing in Kirk's head. After the commercial, we get a captain's log about how these women have a magnetic effect on the men on the crew. Kirk included. And visually here, Spock does another out-of-character head tilt that kind of, like, it makes it appear that he too has the hots for these women. He's just controlling it. I thought that was an interesting facial moment.
That's probably the case.
But this is one of those episodes too that, like, thinking back with our woke sensibilities, pushing the social boundaries, right? I wonder if the writers gave any thought to having women, like, falling all over themselves when these women walk by.
Yeah.
Like,
they didn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Pick a woman and have that one react the same way that the men are.
Interestingly enough, besides Uhura on the bridge at the beginning, didn't see her again, or any other woman in the episode. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't catch that.
No other women in the episode except the three.
Well, and I want to say these were, like, well-known actresses guest starring, and
could be
they probably had to make a big deal to budget. or at least a big agreement that like they would be the, you know, they are the prime characters in this story.
Right.
I think we're getting more and more of that in, you know, woke ass New Trek, where people are, you know, free to express themselves in whatever identity or whatever way they want.
Right.
And I'm glad we are, but I wish they'd been able to do it back then.
Yeah.
When Gene talks about like, if I tell these stories about the human condition, but instead of humans, it's little green men, you get away with it. Like that was kind of the genius of the way he told his stories, right?
Yep. So they're in Kirk's cabin, and Kirk informs Captain Walsh that he's going to be convening a ship's hearing on his actions, that he ran from a starship, didn't answer. And he's like, well, for all I know, I didn't know you were, you know, a starship chasing me. So naturally I ran. But in the meantime, he's been confined to his quarters with the women. And as he joins them, I don't know if you remember, the women are standing there, and Leo Walsh comes in to the quarters that he's confined to. There's 2 security guards, and the women are like, oh, Harry, Harry, Harry. And he's like shushing them because they're calling him Harry, and they're all wondering what's going on. And he tells them to be quiet, and he asks the security people to wait outside, but they refuse. But so then he just kind of quietly reminds the women his name is Leo Walsh, but he tells them not to lie when they're asked questions, but also not to submit to a medical exam.
So apparently the Enterprise runs off of 4 lithium crystals. So they said there were 3 that had gone out, and then a 4th has the hairline fracture at the base, and they have no way to bypass it. So I guess 4 crystals.
I didn't know that.
No, I don't remember that from like my knowledge of mostly future Trek. Up on the bridge, Kirk arrives to discuss the lithium crystal problem with Spock and Scotty. And Scotty calls Walsh a jackass here. And I'm not sure why, but I was surprised to hear that on 1960s Trek. I don't know why. Whether I'm just like, I'm projecting a like more uptight conservative TV standards on the 1960s than was actually.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
They were
in my
trying
head,
to be
but
more
I
progressive.
felt some type of way about like, oh, well, and then too, like there became a very specific effort to like not use current colloquial phrases and stuff. And that included like swearing, because it, you know, you don't, for several reasons, you don't want to box your show into a time period for the language that they used.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. So, and then also like, would we have moved on? Or we're not using swear words anymore.
Yeah.
New Trek is bringing it back. Like New Trek gets away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Language wise, that probably never would have flown back here in the 60s.
No.
So even Jackass made me feel like, ooh, really? Spock suggests that there's a lithium mining operation on Rigel 12 that's less than 2 days away. And then the hearing begins. And we have got to talk about this courtroom. So we have what appears to be a lie detector machine, and it's got some like fun waveforms on the screen.
Yeah.
And then you got Majel Barrett's computer voice,
which is her early computer voice. So she hadn't refined it yet.
Right. This was very much like, I don't even know how to describe it. But they would start asking him questions, starting with, please state your name. Walsh.
Lie.
Incorrect.
Yeah, pretty much everything that came out of his mouth, the computer's like incorrect.
Monotonal is what the word I was trying to think of with Majel's computer voice.
Yeah, and it wasn't very smooth. Like I said,
next generation Majel computer voice
refined. It was great. It was like one of those phone, thank you for calling, you know, that kind of yeah.
And I think that shows you like the difference in what those writers thought a computer voice of the future might sound like.
Right. That
those later writers were like, no, it's probably going to be much more conversational in your language, whatever, like than that choppy computer response.
Yep.
And they're right.
Now, I noticed like during the hearing, we've got Spock in the room. We've got McCoy, we've got Scotty, and some other dude. I didn't get his name. But they're the panel in front of the computer, and pretty much everything he says, the computer's like incorrect. He's lying through his teeth, and especially even with his name. They finally get to the reveal that Leah Walsh is not his name.
Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
A criminal with an extensive record.
They put up this beautiful piece of 1960 imagery here, that little data file that comes up on the little screen, and it's just hilarious.
Offense record, smuggling, sentence, suspended, transport of stolen goods, purchase of space vessel with counterfeit currency, sentences, psychiatric treatment, effectiveness disputed.
Several things out of this one slide. Are we still using the term police in the future?
No.
Please, God, no.
It's security forces
no.
or something. Yeah, police. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then they treated his offenses with psychiatric treatment. What does that look like?
I mean, that's kind of cool.
And how do we feel about that?
I mean, that's kind of cool. Like that they're not just locking people up anymore because obviously it doesn't work.
Right.
And it becomes like a business in some cases to certain prison corporations. So I think psychiatric treatment may be more humane than just maybe locking. I mean, I think they still lock people up, but they at least that was kind of cool, I thought.
Yeah. I also think this could have come from, Gene had a history with the LAPD. His dad was a cop. He was a cop for a while. And then he also wrote for various police TV shows.
I did not know that.
So you have a military background, and we've talked about before, and now the police background that I hadn't considered. But yeah, I think that's kind of where this imagery of like you would see that on like an old detective show, like their police record.
Yep.
Looking exactly like that visually.
Yeah.
Now Kirk's looking to add galaxy travel without a flight plan, without an identification beam, and a failure to answer a starship's signal. Operation of a vessel without a master's license. He just goes on. And I don't know what a master's license is, how you get one, or I didn't know that you needed that. But
yeah.
Mudd claims he does have one, but Computer Majel says
incorrect.
It was revoked.
It was revoked. That's right.
While Mudd starts explaining, we get some dramatic music and close-ups of the women making eyes at McCoy and Scotty.
Smolder. They're doing smolder, smolder, smolder. And they're just drooling.
Mudd says he's on his way to some planet to provide these women as wives to settlers there. Kirk starts asking about the women. There's no computer data on them. Their sensor scans are ineffective.
Yep. So the computer's like, she's not picking anything up on the women. So I guess she decides to
the whole room.
Scan the men. And she's like, I'm picking up blood pressure elevated, sweating, heartbeat rapid.
Pupils dilated.
Right. And Kirk's like, okay, that's enough. So Kirk asks if all the women are there voluntarily. And they say they are. They all come from planets or communities, apparently, with either no men or I don't know. Because one of the girls was saying, well, yeah, I just cook and clean for my brothers. And so there's men there. They're just her brothers. I mean, surely, I don't know. For whatever reason, they feel like there's no eligible men. And so that's why they're wanting to voluntarily be pimped out to some other planet with some lonely men. I don't know.
One of the women said, not only that, you're looking at us like we're Saturnius harem girls or something.
As if they don't realize, or of course they are looking at you like that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but maybe not. Of course they are. Maybe there shouldn't be an of course. I don't know.
And apparently Saturn has harem girls.
Didn't know that.
Who knew? Kirk closes the hearing. Now they're going to turn Mudd over to the authorities at their earliest opportunity. But Eve wants to know what's going to happen to them and starts pleading with Kirk.
What about us? What's going to happen to us?
Happen to poor little us? The lights start flickering again. That's the last crystal. Now the whole ship is running on batteries. And Kirk tells Spock to call ahead and tell Rigel 12's miners they're going to need that lithium as soon as we get here. And then everybody leaves. And Mudd gets excited hearing this. He tells the women they're headed for a planet with lonely, rich miners.
Mm-hmm.
And he does some like evil monologuing here about how one of the girls will be a countess and the other a duchess. And he's going to be captain of the Enterprise.
And the whole time, the two security guys are standing right the fuck there
I wrote
listening.
that down too.
I'm like, why don't they just go tell the captain what this motherfucker just said? I'm like, he's just spilling it. Like, you know how like the evil egomaniac just starts diarrhea of the mouth, like all his plans.
It's Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Right.
I bet you're wondering what I'm doing here at the beach, at the clam bake, with an oven. And normally I'd be all about telling you, and it's a really cool plan too. It involves my latest invention, the peach cobblerinator. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. I have to tell you about yesterday for any of this to make any sense. It all started with an establishing shot of my building.
Doofenshmirtz Able Incorporated.
But normally it's in private. But anyway, yeah, he's just vomiting out all his plans, and the two security guys are right there.
And not only the security guys could have gone and should have told Kirk, here, hey, this is what I heard. But also in the earlier scene, Mudd was like really playing down, like we don't want them to overhear us, right? When he was telling the girls, just don't lie, tell the truth. My name's not Harry.
Right, and now
it's like no big deal.
I'm taking over the ship.
I'm going to tell everybody my plans. 12 hours away from Rigel now. In the captain's log, Kirk says that Mudd is confined to his quarters and the disruption of these women on the male crew is getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
But the women are allowed to roam the ship, distracting the crew? Why weren't they confined to quarters too? Especially if they're causing the men all this trouble.
Well, not only that, especially they're from they're not from the Enterprise.
Like an alien planet. Yeah.
For the safety of the crew, confine them.
Yep.
But whatever.
Ruth shows up in sickbay and she starts flirting hardcore with McCoy. And I thought they were worried about medical scans. Why would she willingly go into sickbay?
She's ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
So she goes straight to where she shouldn't be going.
It stands underneath this computer monitor.
Right.
And it starts beeping and booping.
Yep. And she moves away and McCoy's like, what was that? Why did it act that way? And then he goes and he says, can you walk by my panel again? And she says, what? You're what? And he's like, can you walk by the thing again? And she does. And he's like, it's not supposed to do that. But he's like, are you wearing any kind of unusual perfume or something radioactive?
Something radioactive. Ruth's asking about the miners on Rigel 12. Are they healthy? This is where we learn that there are also 3 of them. How convenient. Meanwhile, Kirk rounds a corner into his quarters, and there lays Eve in his bed.
I swear.
Oh, my.
So she says she took refuge there because she seems to be the only one. She seems to be the only one bothered by the men looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
She supposes that they're lonely.
And she says she really understands that. Like, I understand the loneliness. And then she pulls on that captain's loneliness.
She's pulling on his loneliness, yeah. I do have some respect for Kirk because he does try to disengage from the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, I mean, I'm like, I appreciate that. Well, she does try to kiss him, though, and he protests. And then she's just like, oh, I just can't go through with this because she really likes him. And then she doesn't care what Harry says. And then she kind of runs out before she can really give an explanation or Kirk can understand what the hell she's talking about.
Right. Like she admits that she likes him, but she's like, I just can't go through with this. I hate the whole thing. Ran off. Magna comes into the room where Mudd and Ruth are. They're talking about the miners, and he asks her if she got through to her communications man. So it's obvious now there's like a scheme afoot.
Yeah, she's everybody's working every angle to get information. So I'm assuming that guy on the bridge was who she was pumping for information.
Right.
So they both share what they've learned about the miners. 3 of them, they're all alone. They've been alone for 3 years. But then Eve comes in and she's distraught. And she's like, I don't like you, talking to Harry. She says, I'm not feeling well. I think it must be near the time. And then they They cut back to the bridge.
On the bridge, Kirk's barking an order at Farrell. This guy's name's Farrell.
Farrell.
Yep. You've said it twice, and I was like, I know the name. I can't think of it. And he's still distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk tells Scotty he needs just enough battery power to get to Rigel 12 and hold the orbit enough to get 6 crystals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how many crystals does this ship run on? I thought it was 4.
Yeah.
We had 4. Now it's 6. Did we start with 2 already burned out? I don't
No idea.
I need to know how the ship runs, damn it.
I don't get it.
Kirk and McCoy have a little chat here about the women. They're refusing to be examined. Are they actually the most beautiful women they've ever seen? Or do they just act beautiful?
I thought that was interesting because they seem to have a noticeable effect on the men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have women on the crew.
Right. What makes these ones different?
Yeah. And acting, I mean, I guess the confidence,
Mm-hmm.
it could be that. And well, obviously the way they're dressed as well.
Of course.
And the smolder thing that they're doing with their eyes.
Back in Mudd's quarters, Magda hands him a communicator, gives him the frequency, and he radios the miners on Rigel 12.
That sneaky bastard.
The Enterprise arrives at Rigel 12. They'll be able to maintain orbit for about 3.5 days, which should be more than enough time to get these crystals and power back up.
Yeah.
Kirk asks for a representative to be beamed aboard. And this planet is a wasteland. It's windy all the time and blowing dust all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth has become freakishly ugly now.
Yeah.
And she is freaking the fuck out about it. Eve and Magda are hideous too, and Harry's digging through the drawers trying to find some pills.
Yeah. This I didn't get.
Yeah.
Because these were his pills. He says, we don't know it's pills, but we eventually in a few minutes know it's pills. But he's rummaging through these drawers saying, I don't know where I put it. And they accuse him of hiding them from the girls. And he's like, no, I just put it somewhere safe so that I, in case I was searched. But why doesn't he know where he put them?
Right. So at first, Eve talked like she hid them.
Mm-hmm.
She said something like, you'll never find it. Okay, so she hid him from him.
Oh, she did it?
Was my feet,
okay.
yeah. And
maybe that's what it was.
But then we were led to believe then that he goes, oh, that's right, the mattress. And he goes over to the mattress and picks him up.
Okay.
So he
I'm
knew
so
where
confused.
I am too.
Okay. But he knew where they were. They're basically
anyway,
pills.
they're in the mattress.
There's these pills, I guess, that give them the illusion of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth and Magda take their pill. Eve is a little bit more hesitant to take it, but she does take it. But she does call it it's a cheat.
Mm-hmm. In the conference room, Kirk and Spock meet with Mining Chief Childress and Mr. Gossett. This is the scene where Kirk said that he's authorized to pay an equitable price, which we haven't established any sort of economy in the original series at this point. So, what's the currency? What are we paying?
Credits, probably of some kind. I'm guessing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But, of course, Harry Mudd has already been in contact with the miners before Kirk and has kind of struck a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So this Ben Childress, the chief miner, demands Mudd's release along with the women in exchange for the crystals, but he wants to see the women first.
And Kirk's like,
no deal!
And he argues they're going to need medical supplies and cargo and protection from a starship one of these days. So, plug that into your equation.
Yeah.
And inbounds Harry Mudd with his women, and they get right to work.
Smolder.
Kirk says, still no deal. The lights flicker again. They're down to half the battery power now.
Yep.
And Mudd's got Kirk by the balls. You're going to have to make this deal eventually.
Yep.
Kirk, Spock, and for some reason Harry Mudd beam down to the planet to try to find some crystals. Why did they take him with them?
I don't know. They should have had him locked up.
Right. Why isn't he back in quarters?
Yeah.
Inside one of the mining huts, the women are putting the moves on the miners. Kirk tells Childress he's won and asks for the crystals. But Childress is too busy chatting up Eve now.
They want to get to know the women. They're like, when we find the time, you'll get the crystals.
Mm-hmm. And we know from earlier that Eve's caught some feelings for Kirk.
Yeah.
So she sort of stares at him longingly in this scene. Everyone else is dancing now, and Childress asks Eve to dance, but she starts coughing like, oh, no, dude, sorry, this dust is really bad.
Yep. So he's like mad. He's not getting the attention he wants from her. So he tries to move on the other women that's already dancing with one of his men. So he takes that woman, and then the other guy goes to take the woman from the other guy, and then they get into this big fight.
So now we've got 3 guys fighting over 2 women because Eve's kind of checking out.
Yeah, but she's checked out, but then she also gets mad and runs away because she's like, well,
why don't you just run
a
raffle and let the loser gets me?
Right. So she runs out into the dust.
And Kirk chases after her. So now Eve is out on the foam rock set.
Which actually was, it looked just like the Frozen Planet, but except with different lighting.
Yep. Pushing against the wind and dust of this magnetic storm. Kirk's not far behind, and Childress is out there too. Fast cut to a captain's log. They beam back up to find Eve and Childress with the ship's scanners instead.
Right.
The storm is making the equipment less accurate. It's draining the batteries even more. 5 hours left. Why is mud on the bridge in this scene?
They just given him too much freedom.
They let him go everywhere.
Yeah, they just seem to think he's harmless, and he's still got plans to take over the ship.
Back on the planet, Childress found Eve and carries her back into the cave house. This is like the Flintstones house. Big stone house.
Yeah. He puts her down, and she's still alive, so he falls asleep because I guess like going through the sandstorm is pretty tiring. So he falls asleep, and he wakes up, and he's confronted with a much plainer Eve. You know, she's not gorgeous anymore, but I think she's gorgeous. But they tried to make her look plain.
Yeah, but the beauty standards of the 1960s is at play here.
Yeah. Yep. And she's cooking him breakfast or whatever. And and then she's also moved some of his furniture. So he's kind of annoyed with her. So she feels like, you know, you took me in, I'm trying to repay you. You went and saved me, and I'm repaying you by
You're just being
cooking.
a dick about it.
Right. He's like, I do the cooking here. And
yeah.
And
this whole scene was like very 1960s, like stupid gender roles and
foreplay.
Just kind of overall.
I don't know, but it's kind of like foreplay. And she's, you know, but he's annoyed with her for taking over his house. But like, that's what they brought them there for, to be wives,
right?
I guess, and to do that. But anyway.
And he's like, oh, I suppose I'm supposed to just sit down and eat and be all female cooking. How I've missed thee. So they're bickering back and forth like an old married couple, as one might say.
And he's not really attracted to her anymore because she now looks different. She wasn't glowing like she was when he first laid eyes on her.
One of the things they're arguing about is the skillet. She was doing the dishes, and she says there was 3 layers of food I couldn't get off of your skillet because you never clean it. And he's like, well, go find some water and I'll clean it. And she's like, why don't you just hang it outside where the sand will blast into it, because it blows sand around this place all the time, and that will clean it.
He's like, oh, I never thought of that, you know. So she's smart too. You know, she's got other qualities than just her beauty.
It's at this moment he starts to think maybe there could be something here. But when he comes back into the Flintstone house, Eve has started really reverting to her
gnarly.
Uglier. They have a big old argument here about her looks. He calls her homely and says, you know, look, I've got enough crystals to have queens.
What queen would want to live in that dump, though? But anyway.
Yeah. So Kirk and Harry show up, and Kirk makes Harry explain the Venus drug. That's what's keeping these women beautiful. And of course, it's the Venus drug because men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Apparently.
But also...
That's a stupid book, by the way. Sorry.
Venus was the goddess of love.
The goddess of love.
Love, sex, beauty.
That makes
and fertility.
Much better sense.
So that's why...
I like that.
Yeah.
Mudd explains that the drug gives you more of what you already have. And his examples for this is men become more muscular and women become rounder. Men more aggressive, women more feminine. So all of this like sex stereotype bullshit
Totally.
is just really cranking on this episode. Kirk says that the other miners married their women by subspace radio. And this was a weak plot point for me.
Yeah.
Like, really, by subspace radio, you got married?
I guess. I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
No.
But I guess it was just to depict, okay, hey, these two are done. You know, they're resolved. They've got their women and they're good.
Well, Childress is pissed off now because all of the women are looking ugly now. And his bros married them without knowing.
We've been cheated. We had beer goggles on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. You bring a hot person home, and then when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, hi.
What did I do? We've all been there.
Eve makes the case here that Childress doesn't want a wife to help him. To cook and sew. This is the description of the 1965 wife. To cook and sew and cry and knead. Because that's what all the magazines said a wife should be, right? In the 60s.
Yeah.
Or does he want a selfish, vain, useless, pretty woman?
Because you can't be both
right.
or either, or, you know,
Yes,
you've got to be either.
Not mutually exclusive. Kirk reveals here that he swapped the Venus pills for colored gelatin. So she turns beautiful again, and she thought it was because she took the pills, but it really wasn't. Kirk says you either believe in yourself or you don't. So like you said earlier about like that self-confidence or whatever.
Yeah.
That makes you more beautiful.
And McCoy was saying act beautiful. I mean.
Yeah.
But there was something to the pill as well. I mean, the pill was doing something to them. Confidence obviously did too, but.
Right. So Childress says Eve's going to stay. They want to talk.
Yeah.
Again, like, way to speak for the woman like she doesn't have a voice of her own.
Yeah.
Kirk does ask her, though, and rather than simply saying she wants to stay, she has a line here that's like, we wouldn't have worked out, you and I. Like, breakup line.
So I'm taking this guy over here. Because he's my only option.
Jim, it wasn't going to work with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she says, you've got someone up there called the Enterprise.
Yeah. And that's what Harry Mudd had told them early, is like, you don't want a starship captain. They only love their ships.
I do like here that, I didn't like the way that scene started with Childress speaking this decision for Eve, where he's saying she's going to stay. We're going to talk about this thing.
Yeah. They
could have left it at that.
Yeah.
Right. And had been a simple reflection of the way things currently were.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They put Kirk in the position of saying, is this your willing decision to do this thing? And I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
So Kirk and Mudd leave to beam up, and Mudd asks to be left behind on the planet as punishment.
Yeah, this was pretty funny, the jab.
Yeah. And Kirk's like, he denies that request, but he says, I'll be a character witness at your trial if you think that'll help.
And Harry's like, well, if that's the case, I'll throw away the key.
So the button on the episode, KSM are having one of their chats around the captain's chair. And Spock calls this a most annoying, emotional episode. McCoy gives Spock a little jab here at being an alien whose heart isn't in the same place. Oh, it's more like over here.
Yeah.
And Spock shoots right back. The fact that my internal arrangement differs from yours, Doctor, pleases me no end.
I love that.
And that's our episode.
I didn't mind this episode, but it did hit me in my feelings a bit. I don't know. I was just being overly sensitive this week.
That's all right.
But like, I've had like a bunch of stuff going on with me, just being busy, having to travel, and then trying to fix up a house, and also, hold down a job and do a good job because it feels to pay, Yeah. And then I've got other things that I'm committed to. And I've even got hobbies, which I have no time for. And then all of that, somewhere in the midst of all that, I got to, take care of my mental health and my physical health. And then maybe try to have a social life. And then all of this I'm doing alone, which I'm not complaining about it because I'm not saying, oh, poor Allie, she's by herself. This being alone is my choice. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a partner, but I'd rather be alone than rather deal with mediocrity. I feel like I'm capable of a lot, but honestly, every time I think about dating, what do you think I think? When I'm flipping through the pages of, I don't know, a dating app, what do you think I ask myself? I ask, am I pretty enough? No, I'm not asking myself if I'm smart enough.
Right.
I don't ask myself if I'm strong enough or I'm independent or I got my shit together. No, I'm asking myself, am I pretty enough?
Yeah.
And that pisses me off because why am I like that? I mean, do I blame it on society? Or I don't know, like this episode, I think he did a great job of bringing this to the forefront of like this pressure that we are put under, whether it's ourselves or by society, that we have to look a certain way or to get a man, because none of that other shit is important that we are, because it is. And I think this was a great episode.
They do this thing with the idea of beauty standards. They've done it a lot, I think, in the first, we've had a couple episodes that kind of really poke that like ideal standard of beauty in. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and I wonder though, because I know like all men aren't like that.
Right.
But maybe they think that's what they want, and then they get this woman and then they realize that's not what they want at all.
Right.
Is they don't want an empty-headed person that's gorgeous to look at but has nothing else to offer. But I think they think they want that.
I thought, yes. And I thought of this in a reflection of my own body image issues, right? So like there was a point that I was like, oh, I would cosplay as Ruth. That's a cool fucking outfit.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to do that, except for my body image issues, right? Like Trek Twitter, of all unlikely places, I've been seeing like so much of a positive space for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like people of all shapes and sizes posting pictures, of them in cosplay. And
And I love that.
And my initial reaction is like, fuck yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Not for me.
It's harder.
It's hard to apply that back to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. I totally feel that.
Something I'm still working through.
I think this episode did a great job of like dealing with that thing. So we have Harry Mudd, who is literally pimping out these illusions. He's like our modern day dating app. He's because he thinks that this is what men want, and this is what he's kind of selling. But in the end, we find out, as you see when Eve took the placebo, that the illusion is really just bullshit, and what's important is how she feels about herself inside, and that is the confidence. Is the beauty. Is itself in and of itself the beauty. And she proved already that she's more than a pretty face. She's caring because she's like the only one who actually had a conscience in all of this, I felt like.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's
the others were perfectly fine to go along with the whatever, and here's my man, great.
Yeah. In a way they're kind of victims too, because but because they think they're gonna be duchesses and all this stuff. But
and that's the other part, right? And that's the slavery piece of this.
Oh, yeah.
Like
slave mentality for sure.
These women are being sold to men as property.
By a man, by another man. And they're kind of okay with it as long as he gives them that illusion of beauty.
Right.
Because that's giving them their self-worth. And I hate it. But there's so many levels and layers.
There was at one point I felt some type of way about, like, so we get to see Eve sort of consent to going along with this. And we didn't really get that from Ruth or Magda.
No.
So you're left just having to assume that they're all consenting.
Yeah.
But it just felt wrong to not see it.
Yeah. We don't know if the men are happy, if they're happy. Who cares if the men are happy? But no. But I mean, yeah, they just gloss right over that.
And then there was that whole like gender roles bullshit baked into it that, the husband, wife, male, female, whatever relationship that's described in the episode.
Yeah.
I know it was the times.
Yeah. I think he told it the best way he could, like without still, the times. It was the times.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for the Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, so let's bring Becca back in for the exciting answer to last week's challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us,
why do the uniforms seem to fit differently in this episode?
We thought they got some money.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what I said. Did you write down what we said?
I did. You said they either finally got some money or they got a new wardrobe person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this, though.
Okay.
You want to change your answer?
Possibly,
We can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I'm going to change my answer just because I know that this was an earlier episode.
Oh,
so I
yeah,
think
that's right. You mentioned that.
So I think that may be why. The order that we're seeing them isn't the order they were produced in.
Right.
So
and this was really an earlier episode.
It was very early, actually.
Yep.
So.
All right. So what's the answer?
Come on.
What happened was...
Please let me get this right.
The velour uniforms shrank every time they were cleaned.
Oh, damn it.
And the Actors Union requirements specified that the costumes had to be cleaned after each use.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Oh, man.
Yeah, it really didn't have anything to do with
it was a good... So they basically washed it and shrank it or something.
So it's the same costumes. They just fit differently because they shrank.
Yes.
Oh.
Son of a bitch.
I swear. See, I was overthinking it.
All right. Well, next week, we'll be discussing what are little girls made of. And I don't remember anything about this episode.
Nothing. Zilch.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, fortunately for you, this question isn't really based on anything having to do with the actual premise of the episode.
Okay, good.
Okay.
During the filming of this episode, what was happening behind the scenes that should have been completed well before filming started?
Oh. What the fuck would we know?
Your best guess.
It's got to be something to do with the set.
That's what I was
imagine.
thinking. Right. I was thinking a set is not completed that they had to have.
I mean, and they already had the set of the Enterprise, so...
Yeah.
Whatever planet I don't know. I have no idea. It's got to be something with the set.
Read me the question again. What was happening behind the scenes that...
During the filming of this episode, what was happening behind the scenes that should have been completed well before filming started?
Oh, what was happening behind the scenes that should have been completed? It doesn't necessarily say building.
Right. It could have been a union negotiation.
You're going to get that strike.
I'm going to get that.
Writer strike in there
eventually,
somehow.
Yeah.
What? Completed. No fucking
I don't know.
Yeah. I have nothing. Except what I originally said, which is probably wrong.
All right. Well, tune in next week to hear that.
That was an evil laugh.
Well, I'm a little evil.
All right. And if you want to play along, head on over to the social media. Share your answer. It doesn't have to be the correct one. You can just try to make us laugh. We'll pick the one we like the best. Completely subjective to our tastes.
Yep.
And award you all of the bragging rights. Maybe we'll start talking about those on the show when we start getting some fun answers in.
Yeah.
So go to the social media, share your answer, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and play our dumb little game with us that Becca keeps kicking our ass at.
You too can get your ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
God, you're evil.
Totally evil. She is enjoying this.
And then, do we have anybody die in this episode? Don't think we did we?
Well, so no, unless you count Harry Mudd's ego. No. No one died.
And I do not count it.
No one died.
Wow. This is the first episode, I think, without a death. I feel like we've done that segment on every episode, and this is the first one.
We did have a previous episode where nobody died. It was the pilot.
Yeah.
The cage. They didn't really have anybody. But yeah, 0 body count for this one. So no funeral.
No.
All dressed up and nowhere to go.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Well, there are a lot of great ways to help support the show here. One of the free ways to do that is to go wherever you listen to the show and leave us a review. We'd love to have all the stars and say something fun about us, and maybe we'll read it on air or put it on the website. And one of the best ways to support us, though, is to give us some of your money by becoming a patron at patreon.com/humanistrek. Patrons get early access to every episode, and we're launching some fun merch for patrons as well. I think the sticker should be active by the time this goes to air.
Cool.
So you can get some cool Humanist Trek swag. And that's at patreon.com/humanistrek. As little as $3 a month, and it really does go a long way to support the production of this show. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 8, What Are Little Girls Made Of? Nurse Chapel's long-lost fiancé is found, along with his androids. I didn't remember this episode at all.
I didn't either.
I had no memory of this episode.
And I don't get the title. What are little girls made of? I don't get the title,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll see.
Right. All right, well, thanks for going on the journey with us, kids. We'll see you next week when we discuss the next episode of Star Trek on Humanist Trek.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Trek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.